There we go. Welcome to LibsWork Lounge. If I slip up and call it Library Lounge, I apologize. We do a Library Lounge in Maine, um, every couple of weeks or so, where it's something similar to this. Just librarians can come in and talk about whatever is on their minds. We don't record that one because what happens in Library Lounge stays in Library Lounge. LibsWork Lounge, however, we are recording. So welcome to Emily. You said you're new, is that
Yeah,
right?
it's true.
So tell us a little bit about you.
Let's see. I'm at the Texas State Library and Archives Commission. I am their new workforce development consultant. I come from the world of school libraries. I was a high school librarian here in Austin at a high poverty high school for a number of years, and and I, saw so many of my kids not going on to higher ed and graduating not knowing what they were doing, and I wanted to connect them to all the good opportunities, and so now I get to work on that more broadly, and I'm glad. So
Well, we're
ready
so
to do
glad to have
it.
you.
Thank you.
We usually have we do LibsWork Lounge periodically,
Mhm.
just to kind of check in with everybody. Most meetings, we have a presenter who comes in and talks to. So if you ever have any ideas on somebody you'd like to have, if you yourself have something particular you'd like to talk about and address, just let any of us know. Andrea does most of the scheduling. She's here with us sort of today. She was double booked, so you'll see her on the screen, but she may not be able to fully respond. So please don't take it that she's shunning you.
Okay, no problem.
She's here in addition to another thing because she loves us so much. So, Joyce, can you tell us a little bit about you? Because we do have some new people here.
Sorry, yes, I was just realizing I need to update my name. Okay, hi, I'm Joyce Abbott. I'm the Workforce Development Librarian at the Washington State Library. I've been in this role for about 2 years. Prior to that, I spent 13 years as a public librarian in the Phoenix, Arizona area, and so looking forward to learning alongside you, Emily, because it's a new landscape. Uh, can I pass it to Beverly?
Yes, Beverly, are you able to hear us okay? Hi again. Yeah. Oops, you're muted.
Muted myself again. I was in the land of distraction. I work for the California State Library, and I am the consultant in charge of California Library Literacy Services. So we don't have any explicit workforce stuff right now. We had a lot of ARPA funded stuff, which we're just really promoting the uses of training databases. It wasn't necessarily well coordinated with literacy. We tried to make that happen, but we do. This is an affiliate group. And inclusive services are places. I used to work on continuing education, so I know that group well. Um, so I try to attend this and see what I can pick up. Um, Most of our programs receive funding from the state for adult literacy services. A few receive WIOA funding. We are interested in seeing what is going to happen with that. But we do serve a lot of people, and we have services in a lot of libraries. Um, and that's probably about all I'm going to contribute for the moment. I am not adjusted to the time change. I don't know what it is, but it gets harder and harder every year. So
I
yesterday I
hear that.
about 10:45 I was normal, but today it hasn't happened yet. So
It took me 4 cups of coffee this morning, so
oh my
I,
gosh.
I
Yeah.
totally get it. Jesse,
Hello there. Yeah, I usually can't make these meetings too often, so because I'm always too busy multitasking. So who am I? Well, I work for Burbank City, Burbank Public Library, Southern California. We're a small branch, literally our main branch, and I mean our main central branch, and we have two other local branches. Otherwise, we're very small, but I do run the workforce center. I'm a paraprofessional. I'm actually an administrative analyst too for the city. I do have my MLIS, but my background, it was also getting my bachelor's in social science. So when it came time to, when they were actually bringing over the workforce center, it used to be part of the city. Now it's actually still part of the city, but in the library itself. I took over that. I've been doing that for 4 years, maybe just shy of 4 years now. Previous history was all private industry, actually. Uh, long history there. But anyways, coming over here, taking over the workforce center. We are actually a career one-stop. We actually are an affiliate site. We have a larger partnership with the next city over. They are our comprehensive center. So yeah, I'm like all in on workforce. That's mainly what my main day-to-day is. I do one-on-one meetings. I do all the business outreach, you name it. So yeah, but unfortunately, I'm really stretched thin. So it's just one of those things where like if I can make these groups, I love it, but most of the time I can't even interact. I'm just listening, multitasking, doing other stuff in the background, jumping around. And yeah, that's where I'm at.
Jesse, can I ask, do you have any
Yeah.
contact at all with the library literacy program in Burbank? With Win?
Well, so which one? Because we have an internal literacy program.
Yeah, you with the one that Win Langer
Yes. Yeah, my
runs.
colleague. Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. Most of the time, what ends up happening anytime like we have to go to like certain outreaches, it's usually me and Win, right? Because
Yeah.
Win will push the literacy, and then yeah, I would push the workforce, and we're both all libraries. So yeah, definitely. Oh
Oh,
yeah,
that's
I
great.
don't.
Because I was talking with your library director 2 weeks ago. We had
Oh,
I saw
Eric. So nice.
Eric is the best, and from Texas.
Brand new. Yeah, he started in December. So yeah.
Yes. And I knew him from his previous job in Paso Robles, but he is really so enthusiastic about community partnerships and building better community partnerships for literacy programs. So it's great to hear you and Win are going out. Thank you for sharing that because it's always good to hear the story from a different angle, and I appreciate that.
No, I love Eric. He's brand new, right? We're still trying to get the lay of the land with him, but reality is that yeah, he's got some big plans. We gotta like we have
You're getting
the
a new
hopes of a
library.
brand, yeah, the hopes of a new library across the street, 60,000 square feet, where then like literacy, our media lab, Job Connect, which is what I run, all these things actually have a bigger footprint in the library because a lot of times when you
Yep.
have a workforce center, like they look it up online, they say, hey, this is a workforce center. They come in and they're like, this is a library. And so they get kind of just veered off. So yeah, we're looking to expand our footprint, make it more prominent when they come in. They can actually see these services, have a specific area for these adult services, and they just don't
Yeah.
get irked because it's just also a library. Because we're not just a library. I mean, everyone can say that, right?
Yeah. Jesse, which branch are you in?
So I'm the main branch central, right? So
Okay.
like Eric is literally 2 offices over.
Thanks.
I love all the interconnectivity that we have with each other. Um, so I'm Lisa Shaw, and I'm based out of Maine, the Maine State Library. I'm the Workforce Development Specialist here, which is kind of a position that sort of evolved when I came on about 8 years ago or so. I used to be with Department of Labor in the state of Maine as a career center consultant. So realizing that we're serving the same populations, especially in Maine, um, you can't swing your arms without hitting 6 people that it's like, oh, I've seen you at 3 different meetings for very different things, the same person, um, which is a really good thing sometimes. And then sometimes it's like, oh, it's us again. It's like, I don't know, that Monty Python skit where they just kind of like change, hats or whatever. Um, so that's Maine, but so Emily's got some ties to Maine, which is really cool. And I love the cross-country representation here too. Like if we had a rolled up map of the United States and had to pin it down to flatten it out, I feel like our locations would do a pretty good job of that.
Yeah.
And Justin's just joining us. Welcome, Justin.
Howdy, hey, how we doing?
We're doing great. We're just doing we're a LibsWork Lounge this month, so kind of checking in with each other. We have some new folks joining us. Andrea is here from New Jersey. She's our usual facilitator, but she's multitasking big time today, like Jesse has to do quite a bit. So we totally understand, Jesse, if you have to dip out periodically. We don't think you're being rude. We totally get it. So I'm facilitating today, Lisa Shaw. Justin, if you could tell us a little bit about where you're coming in from, what you do, all that sort of thing.
Absolutely. Justin Brasher, the McCracken County Public Library located in Western Kentucky. We're a single branch library. We have a bookmobile. We serve about 68,000 residents within the county and then surrounding counties.
That's fabulous. Maine doesn't have, I think we maybe have one library that has any kind of a branch to it at all. There's 267 public libraries. They're all locally owned and operated and governed, 267 library boards. What fun.
Wow. Yeah,
Ow. Ow.
I came from Houston before this. So I usually get the, oh, you don't know what it's like to be in a small town. Well, I used to be at a library in Florida that was about half the size. So I feel like I have a little bit of experience in the rural and the metropolitan, but this is a pretty good mix here. We're kind of the I don't know, crown jewel seat of the county here in Paducah. But we have a great convenient downtown location, great relationship with our county judge. We are a part of the Dolly Parton Imagination Library, as many of us are. But yeah, we're a great little public library that's just chugging along.
So Emily is actually coming in from Texas. I think this is her first meeting with us. She's with the Texas Library
Yeah.
and Archives.
Yep, in Austin. Yep.
Oh, sweet deal.
Yeah.
And Jesse is coming in from Burbank. Beverly is the California State Library. I get that screwed up.
That's right.
Awesome. Joyce coming in from Washington State, Maine, and Andrea's like 10% here. She's
Yes,
she has
and
to multitask, so she's New Jersey.
Andrea is usually the reason I'm here. Back when Elizabeth was running the group, Andrea was usually the person that's like the one person that I knew that like I could go to her LinkedIn and be like, "Is there a meeting today? I can't
Yep.
find the link. The link says it's invalid. What do I do?" So yeah, she has saved my bacon and gotten me to these meetings many a time.
Andrea's a big time bacon saver. She's fabulous, and I hope she knows we appreciate her very, very much. And again, I'll reiterate, if you ever have any, like, hey, I'd like to hear a speaker on this, or I know a speaker on this topic, or I'd like to talk about this, please let Andrea know, or me, or you can still let Elizabeth know too. Elizabeth, I think, was your predecessor, Joyce, if I'm not mistaken, from Washington State Library. We're all just one big happy family here. So, who wants to start off with anything exciting, interesting, new, or whatever that you've got going on? Joyce, please take it away.
Sure, because I just have a bunch, so I just would rather just like get it all out at once. First and foremost, just to follow up from last meeting, we got if you watch it on YouTube, or actually meeting before that, we got a run through of a product called JobScan. And after that, JobScan started talking to a bunch of libraries in Washington, and they talked to me, and they were telling all the libraries in Washington, we're talking to Joyce at the state library, even though I explained to them there is absolutely I do not have budget to give everyone in Washington State JobScan. I was super clear about that. I was like, I might be able to pilot it, but like, no. So anyway, they were very active. And I decided, after having some meetings with other libraries, we decided, rather than trying to shoehorn ourselves into this product because it feels overbuilt, we're going to just send JobScan a list of the things that we think would be appropriate for a light version of the product that actually serves libraries the way that we're used to being served. So I will pop that in chat, what I asked for. And I don't know. We'll see. They said, oh, it's too big. Nah. All right. Hang on. Anyway, all right, I'll put it in chat when I have time. But anyway, so there's that. We're currently in Washington because we offer free certifications through the state and through local libraries. We use a product called Gmetrics. for cert prep alongside like LinkedIn Learning and, Cisco Net Academy. But Gmetrics code distribution is something that's really, really hard for other libraries to do. So I started actually making codes for libraries and then giving them a big list of codes. And even that is too much for a lot of libraries to bring on. Like, I don't have time for another service. Make this self-service. So we're working with a vendor called InfoGenie to see if they can build something self-service for us. So it would be just a web page that they host that would allow people to select their library from a drop-down menu, enter their library card number and PIN, authenticate their library card number, and then they would be able to choose which course codes they'd like and get that course code emailed to them. And they'd be able to get one course code every 24 hours. This is also how they would be able to get codes for practice tests. And they would also be able to do the same thing in reverse when it's time to get a code for to get a voucher for their exam. They can upload the screenshot of their passing practice test, and it will automatically go to the contact at the library who checks that. More often than not, it will be centralized. It'll be me, because a lot of libraries are like, this is too high touch, I can't do it. But it would be still a great way to offer it at those libraries. It would just be self-service. So fingers crossed that I don't know. I'll let you know in a couple months if we actually end up building it. It would be really great. Also, we're working with education on getting a training for library staff on FAFSA simplification, because so many, there are a lot of issues in there's just like budget issues this year, I think. I think everyone's got budget issues this year. So we're concerned about not having as many, career coaches at the high school level. So libraries are going to try and help where they can there. And also got a really good demo of a product called Interplay. Interplay Academy. Interplay, it's a learning platform, but Interplay Academy is actually VR training for skilled trades. And it does result, there's 9, going to be 10 soon, modules in skilled trades. And I think I'm gonna offer Andrea to have them come and do a presentation here, because it's really interesting, because only 10% of the people who use Academy actually use the VR headsets. Everything else, you can really just do it on the browser, but it's skilled trades, and you leave with an OSHA 10 construction certification. So really exploring that. But all of that to say, budget concerns, obviously. We sent people to DC last week to lobby for IMLS, or to talk to people about how important IMLS is, and we'll see what happens. That's it from Washington right now.
The Interplay Academy looks very interesting. It reminds me of, I don't know if you remember at all when Tammy Westergaard from Nevada used to come and did something around
Project Sandy.
dialysis. Yes, exactly. I think that's fantastic. We have budgetary concerns in Maine too, and additionally, it's very hard for our model to roll out and scale appropriately for a lot of vendors, because you're either dealing with a bunch of small and rural libraries, largely. We have a couple of larger libraries, like Bangor, the city where I live, is like 39,000 people. Portland's is our biggest, but it's not like huge compared to other states. So you're either dealing with that size audience or a million statewide. There's no in between. And vendors, I think, find that very difficult to deal with. So I get it. It's hard. It's really hard to scale that across. But that looks really interesting. I'd definitely be interested in seeing that play out.
Yeah, I know we could only afford to do a trial, like a pilot at a few libraries, but libraries are saying, "Oh, don't worry, we can get funding to continue this through the chamber." So, chamber, like I've heard that twice, that the Chamber of Commerce in a local area actually has funding for this. So that That would be cool. Yeah.
Yeah, we're watching our federal funding carefully here in Maine too, because we're real popular at the federal level right now, as you know, in Maine. So everybody's just like kind of watching to see what is or isn't going to happen with a lot of our funding streams. Justin, what's the layout in Kentucky with libraries? Like if you work with a particular vendor, do you have branches systems or are you similar to Maine?
I mean, there's like for some things like Libby and Hoopla, we do pay into a little bit of a consortium for some of our databases. Um, I actually just did a presentation to the Delphic Club where they asked if our money is in danger. Our library is funded primarily by property and vehicle taxes. So as long as people have houses and cars, we are hopefully still okay. There is some legislation here that's trying to control how board nominees are decided. Right now, is decided by we provide two nominees, and then our county judge can either say, I don't like either one, send me another two, or thanks to a Senate bill from 2022, he now has the option to say, I don't like either one, here's my personal choice. So if you have a great county judge like our library has and has a great working relationship with him, he does not exercise that, has never felt like he needs to. For some of the less progressive county judges in Kentucky who want to put wackadoodles on their board, it kicks the can down the road, but slowly but surely as people roll off, the wrong judge at the wrong place at the wrong time can put someone on there that kind of implodes the board from within. There's new legislature that's trying to strip away the board's ability to nominate and leave it all to the judge, which kind of seems odd to me that you wouldn't want a library board to have input on who goes on the library board. But it's thankfully not in discussion yet. We're not at the call your people and say no on Senate Bill 71. We're not at that point yet. But yes, we thankfully, even if that passed, we still have a good judge executive who would want to make sure that he defers to us because you guys are good stewards. You're good in the community. We have a good working relationship with the media. The newspaper and TV station are across the street from us. So they just did a video this morning about some new toys we added to our playroom area. Yeah, we're sitting pretty, but not every county in Kentucky is as lucky. But yeah, that's the skinny of it.
Are your boards advisory or governing or some kind of a mix
Governing.
of both? They're governing. I'm always leery of legislation that's personality dependent,
Yeah.
kind of putting all the eggs in one basket. Um, Maine's libraries, the way it shakes out, were about, I would say, roughly 40%, 60% 501c3 nonprofits with governing boards. Another big chunk are municipal with advisory boards that advise and report to the select board or the council. And then we see some MOU mashups in there occasionally, but board members, at least in Maine, and I know in a lot of other places too, are bound by care of duty, so ideally, you can't put someone or have someone serving on a board that's not there to operate fully in that library's best interest.
I wish Kentucky had something like that in place. But yeah, they've tried to put any number of just random people on there because, oh, my buddy works over at this company. He's good with numbers. But that's not what the library needs.
Right.
Like my board has one of the principals from a local school, has someone from a local bank, because we do want people who are in touch with the schools, someone who is good with financials. We have someone from the housing authority because we want that human element on there as well. Someone from the local hospital who can advise with some nonprofit stuff. We run as a quasi-governmental agency. We do have a separate 501c3 for our foundation and to operate our Dolly Parton Imagination stuff. But yeah, we try to be, a nice diverse board that brings a lot to the table. But yeah, oh, and a good skills matrix. We actually do have a skills matrix, courtesy of the Kentucky Department of Library and Archives, which does help. But yeah, there are some boards out there that they'll just throw anybody on there because they have a wackadoodle county judge that will throw, their buddy on there. But yeah, we've been fairly safe from that, thank goodness.
I've told this story numerous times. I won't repeat it, but I did in fact have a library I worked with the board members were all deceased. They're all dead. And yeah, that's not the worst board I've worked with. Not gonna lie. Emily, I'm curious what you've inherited, because you're fairly new to your position.
It's true. And the position itself is fairly new. It was created 2 years ago. At the state level, there was one gal that held it previous to me, who was here for a little over a year. And so she was starting to get things going, and I'm not even so sure why she stepped away. So really, it's sort of still mine to create, which is exciting.
It is nice.
Yeah. I'm on a team of there's 6 of us different consultants, and we are embarking on a road trip, well, not all at the same time, but we're doing a 10 city tour of some of the smaller cities. Texas is plenty big, so one city at a time of some sort of like secondary cities of Texas, to do a 2-day free training. The first day is for library directors and managers around circulation policies, but as part of it, we've invited the workforce solutions, you know, providers in that area to come, and we're giving them a half hour to speak and share, and then to table during the free session after that. And I've heard back from 9 out of 10 of them. We're starting the road show in April, doing April and May, and then giving the summer off because when the libraries are busy in the summer, and then we have the last few in September, October. And I've heard back from 9 out of 10 of the workforce solutions folks that they're on board. So yeah, I'm excited to get out there and see what's going on, really. And then most of that was set up, as I was starting the job. And actually, well, I mean, I reached out to the workforce people, but they were setting it all up. And yeah, so I'm excited to get started with all that.
Do you have,
yeah,
yeah, no, I was just going to ask you if you
go for
have
it.
something in particular when you started this position or since you've gotten in there that you're like, oh, I'd really like to do this.
I mean, really just it's my learning curve has been high. I've just been sort of digging into all the things that are out there and learning a lot. The youth consultant shared with me a program in California. I have a couple of California people here about the lunch in the library program, like a summertime program where they had paying teen interns to help provide, during the summer, provide food for kids. And that's, teens are kind of my wheelhouse anyway. So we're looking into partnering something about that, and maybe get something going around that. And yeah, I'm happy to work with her on that. We're looking at that. And that's sort of, I mean, I've only been here about 6 weeks. So really, I'm just a baby.
Oh, so you're new.
I'm
That's
new.
fantastic.
Yeah.
You still have the residue from the price sticker
still
on
shiny.
you.
Yeah.
That's great. I think you're going to like this group. And I hope, it's at a time where it meets your needs, and we're certainly willing to revisit, like if this day and time turns out to be like really problematic for a lot of people. It's not like, well, too bad, we're pretty flexible.
Oh,
So
thanks. Thank you.
hope we can make that work for you.
Awesome.
Beverly, what are some things what are some partnerships or some projects you've got going on that you're particularly excited about? Or
Well,
that you hate if you want to, you know?
yes, it's a good question, and excuse me, my attention flits in and out. But lunch at the library, Emily, I'm glad you mentioned that. We also have a Teen Succeed LSTA funded program that has teen internships. Started with a pilot one library, and hopefully we will get a bunch more libraries this year. Each library generally has 12 interns, I think 4 and 4 and 4. They do it throughout the year. And so that's pretty exciting. So my colleagues who work at
Okay.
Lunch and Library and Teen Succeed are working on that.
All right.
Yeah, we have other things going on. We have an ongoing sustainability initiative, which is very cool. But you know, as always, looking to see where the budget is leading us. It's been interesting to hear about your organization. And the power that rules various libraries. I mean, we have 187 jurisdictions in California, but those jurisdictions range from one location to 80 plus branches. And they are governed in different ways. There is no uniform governance, but I will say there are no 501c3s running libraries in California. No public libraries, at least. There may be libraries that we don't count as public libraries, but they are either county, or they are city charter, or they are a different kind of city library, or they are joint powers administrations, or they are some hybrid, or they are independent library districts. So there's a variety of different library organizations. I would say the vast majority are city or county. And I would also say that library boards actually don't typically have a huge voice in the running of libraries in California. But directors always want to know how to work with those trustees. Sometimes they do have binding powers, and sometimes they have non-binding powers, and it really just depends on the form of governance. So, and I should be able to talk about new partnerships, but I am so out of it today.
That is not a problem. No, look, I get
Yeah.
it. Trust me.
But we do have a new rural and tribal libraries consultant, which is something we've been lacking for a long time. So trying to hear those voices. So yeah.
That's fantastic. I imagine probably, and thank you for people who have put your trustees stuff in the chat too. I know that's adjacent to what we, our main focus for this group, but if you're going to work with a library, you're going to be dealing with their board at some point. So it's good to have that information.
I will say there is a kerfluffle brewing in California. We do have 9 library cooperative systems, which were created for shared lending, and they also share professional development. In some cases, they share catalog, ILS, and the budget for that has been, it was cut 50% last year. There are some changes, some legislation afoot, and I just noticed the statewide listserv just posted some advocacy about that. So just saying stuff. There's voices making themselves known about that.
Awesome. I hope it's for the good. Jesse, if if this is a bad time to talk, feel free to let me know. You mentioned expanding your footprint to go across. Is that going to be parsing out library services from, like, say, career center services or job center services, or are they still going to be under the umbrella of like a partnership?
Well,
How,
so because we have like certain guidelines we need to follow, being one, being a library, but two, being a workforce center. So yeah, we have actually strict guidelines in terms of signage and everything. So that type of thing in terms of like following the career one-stop guidelines. So yes, it would, but at the same time, it's better to have a presence where people walk in and they just don't see just library. They see, like, because people get really confused when they come in, because we say, hey, we have career services, and they come in and they're like, this is not a workforce center. So we, being that we're in an old building, we had to like build extra areas that just kind of are there and kind of mixed. And so it's a very confusing message. So yes, eventually, at the same time, we also would like to build specific spaces for So I already do like weekly meetings, one-on-ones, those type of things. But at the same time, I would like to have walk-in, right? Drop-ins where we can actually have a desk that people know from certain set of time that they can come and they can specifically request workforce services. But at the same time, when we're limited space, it makes sense then if literacy then can have a walk-in service and they can have, right? So like the whole idea would be like if I can take workforce for 3 hours a day, literacy takes it for 3 hours a day. We have a Spark Media Lab, right? So those type of they can take it for 3 hours a day. But then we also have shared resources in the sense like we all have a classroom we could use. We all have private one-on-one rooms we could use, which can also be converted because of privacy reasons. They also could be used as sound booths because our Spark Media Lab would need it. So all these little shared areas that make sense that we can just cross over that we're going to try to build into the new library, but at the same time, still kind of when the people come in, it's like, oh, it's a workforce center and all of our documentation is there. But then off to the side, there's all the literacy documentation, and off to the other side is all the Spark Lab documentation. So it'd be nice to have all that in one general area, because at the same time, a library, we're very, very limited in space,
Do you have a MOU with the other agencies that you're aware of? I've always wondered what a template of one of those would look like in reality, because we have some of our libraries share their space with Career Center personnel, maybe a couple times a month or whatever. They set aside some space from them. I don't know if they have any formalized agreements per se, but our
not
careers.
formal,
Okay, so
not
it's an
formal, but
informal sort
it's
of.
an informal. So the group I'm with is the Vertigo Workforce Development Board, right? It's got like 8 to 9 partners. So all of us really are equal partners in that we do referrals. So like EDD is one of our partners, Department of Rehabilitation, Glendale Youth Alliance, City of Glendale. So we have all these partnerships that we do, and yes, we do referrals to each, and we cross over a lot. And I do have some partners come specifically here, but it's not like it's written in stone. It's just more like, hey, do you have time? Can you come to meet the public? We have set up a program. Or I do a second group. Like I said, we do also have a separate grant funded group that we run as a cohort that runs for 12 weeks every quarter. And so, yes, we have we have the agencies come and do special talks for that group at the same time. So it's like having all that built into space. It'd be nice if we had it at space instead of just using our main auditorium or main services. But yes, there's nothing written in it. It's just like we just are part of this group, and we do have to follow some of those guidelines. But at the same time, this is my city. I'm library and privacy, and like you only get we're doing referrals. We're doing that, but we keep no files. We privacy reasons and all this other stuff. So the most you ever get is their name, and we hand them over, and we don't we can track a little bit, but otherwise, yeah, it's all these little guidelines we need to follow just because I'm city, I'm library, I'm workforce, careers, one stop, and then part of the group. So yeah, it's just like a fine line of trickling all four, you know.
Interesting. Yeah, that collecting statistics and data question is always challenging, because when we are partnering with workforce, obviously they have target demographics that they're looking to demonstrate impact for, and we are so careful what we do and do not collect. That's usually there's usually some dirt road there between
Yeah, oh no, they would
those
love to
two
get their
streets.
hands. They would love to get their hands on more than what we would ever provide them. It's just like, and we make our firm stance that no, if we are going to do a referral, that person can then give all their information other than just their name that we'll do as a referral and otherwise. But yeah, like because it is a program and so yes, part of our system is with partnership through EDD and CalJobs. And yes, I would do registrations, and we do have to log in and help people create their applications in those systems. Why? Because that group is required. If they're going to meet with somebody, they have to be registered. They have to do all that. But at the same time, I put my foot down and say, look, even when I meet with the people, it's like, I don't take notes on you. I don't write anything down. I don't need your information. I'm going to help
Yep.
you get through this, get to the next part. Otherwise, you can come see me anytime you want. But otherwise, I am never going to remember any of your information. Thankfully, I meet too many people. I can't even take on remembering, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's very interesting because they would love to get their claws into our other services, right? Like we just say, okay, we're workforce, but they would love to get integrated into our literacy program. No way, right? These other partners would love to get their hands on it. Why? Because it justifies their budgets. But like, look, we're only taking a small portion of your budget, and we're justifying it as we're the library, we're the city. This is our workforce center, and so yeah, I always cut these fine lines.
So I'm curious, in a setup like yours where you've got several different entities sharing some space, at the end of the day, who who's responsible for the light and the heat bills? You know what I'm saying? Like, do those get charged off to the library, or is there some kind of a
So thankfully, the way we did it is reality is that the grant that we work off, the funding for this for the main workforce center is so minimal that it barely even covers staff, right? It doesn't even cover complete staff. So what we report is all we're doing is collecting part of our staff's salaries, and then therefore they can't say that we're doing can use it for other things. So it's like we can then say like, yes, as part of the library services, the city's paying for this, all we're doing is paying for part of the salaries, and they can't argue for wanting to extend more because they will never give us the budget enough to pay for all those salaries completely, so it's just like, yeah, so we can actually just put our foot down and say, look, you're just paying for part of the salaries. This is what the reporting that you'll get is the salaries, how many referrals, how many things we actually did, some names and leads and stuff like that, but otherwise we just say nope, that's it.
um a couple of you have mentioned working with teens like with an internship type thing in libraries or library adjacent services. Um, we have some libraries that work with voc rehab, vocational rehabilitation here in Maine, doing work experiences in libraries. And that's one of those places I love so much because it's where workforce development and CE for librarians cross over. I find a lot of times I'm having to parse it out and explain the differences with partner agencies between workforce development for all of our shared um, customers, clients, whatever you want to call them, patrons, versus just training library staff. Um, so is that kind of what those internships are as well? Is that kind of like a work experience type thing for those teens, or I don't know, maybe was it Joyce?
Yeah, she said they
Sorry,
had a new.
I apologize. I just realized it was me. I'm sorry.
It's
It's a
okay.
day. It's a day. It's a day. It's
Preach.
my co
This day is a week.
the last 2 months have been
Yep.
yeah. Anyway, okay. So it's not my program, it's my colleague Sarah White's program. She's our youth services consultant. And basically she is using some of her funding to grant up to $5,000 to I think it's five libraries, and each library is tasked with working with is a reimbursement grant. So they have to work with their HR and make sure that they have everything in place from their municipality or their county or whatever it is. So they're actually following the HR process, whatever it is, for a teen, and have a position that is appropriate, and pay that person. And basically the whole point of it is to allow that teen to create a project in the library using their own skills and talents and interests. So it's not, all right, thank God we've got another page for summer reading. Or we know what program we want you to run. You're going to help the seniors with tech time on Tuesdays. No, it's instead, we're going to find a teen, and hopefully not a teen that's from, she was very clear about this, wherever possible, we don't want the people who are already engaged. If you have a favorite teen, they're probably okay. We are looking for the voices of teens who don't see themselves as a library teen or understand that their talents would actually be of benefit to their community if they were in the library space. So, yeah, oh yeah, Beverly, I bet Sarah would like to learn about that because, and it's also a mentoring experience for a library staff member. So it's important for both sides. Anyway, it's her first time doing it, and we're excited to watch what happens.
Yeah, Beverly, that's very interesting. I might we might want to talk more about bringing a couple of people in, like the person I usually work with in Maine, for example, to talk about this more in case because it is it is it's training our workforce in libraries as well, but it's also giving workforce experience to teens. They may come and be like, yeah, no, I don't actually want to do this. I'm good. Um, yeah, I would love that, Beverly. That would be fantastic.
I will
Um,
ask. I will ask.
uh,
Yeah, and ours do generally don't go through HR, that they're generally a uh teens are paid a fee, a sort of fee for service, because it's super hard to hire through the official channels. We looked at all kinds of ways of doing this and allowable ways with LSTA funds in particular. And obviously you can't pay them with gift cards. I can't, there are ways you can do it and ways you can't do it. And I am the least familiar person with it, but my colleagues might be happy to talk about this because a lot of teens have been engaged in libraries through Lunch at the Library and through the Teen Succeed program. And some of them have really used library skills. And I am wondering myself whether libraries have invited them to use, for example, our statewide niche academy for kind of training and look at the ABLE coursework and stuff like that. I don't know. That's a really good question.
there's some good stuff to find out because there's some good transferable skill sets there.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And I think, as with so many things, we discovered that it's soft skills that are often um, the most in need of support.
Absolutely. And I think that would be super exciting um, to have that community. So the libraries report back, like once they've done it, they're like, yeah, we'll totally do this again. Um, these guys worked out great. And our LSTA funding in Maine is really challenging because it doesn't go very far once it pays for certain staff people. Um, there's not a lot of programming money left to do. We don't do like direct grants here because everybody would get like $5,000 and there would be no library development. So it's it's nice to partner across with a sector that has like WIOA funding or things like that that they can work with.
Yeah, except for there may not be WIOA funding next year. I think people are waiting to see.
Yeah,
Jesse, do you get
yeah.
WIOA funding?
So yeah, so the way it works for us is so we have, it's like I said, we're an affiliate site, so all the funding actually comes from the Comprehensive Center, right? And that's who
Mm.
is the major partner in the group I'm with. So yeah, that's the Verdugo Job Center in Glendale. So yeah, they're like the big brother. So everyone that does come see me, yes, I will run through all the WIOA specifications and all the stipulations because of course they have their own stipulations. And so, yes, like everything, the funding for them, they're actually one of the more generous ones, right? They'll offer 7,500, right? Up to 6 months, that type of thing. And their funding generally lasts right up until March or April. Whereas most people I know out here, that funding's all like by December, it's done. So
Yeah.
thankfully they get a good amount of funding for it. But yeah, it's a very strict line of like, yeah, we the way I tell people is like we deal with the front end. I give you everything you need to know, give you all those back end details, and then we pass you on through a referral system to our partner, and then they take over. So yeah, the funding is there, but it's just not through us, thankfully. Like I can't even imagine trying to manage that, because
Yeah.
we are small, I'll be honest. Like there's me that runs the day to day. We just got our brand new workforce librarian that we've been down for well over a year. So she barely started in December and she's actually barely going through training. Whereas I'm actually was trained to do career counseling, right? That was part of my bachelor's. I actually went through a whole entire program. I'm one of those weird ones where I actually have library background, right? I have my MLIS, but I also have career counseling. So I actually am a career development facilitator on top of all that. And because I was private industry, I have like long history and statistics reporting. And so that's my day to day on top of running the workforce center. So I'm like really strange, but it's one of those then like there's the two of us on the boots on the ground for an entire city. Thankfully, we're also only the adults. Like I would say, like, everyone was able to offer teams. When they did the break off from the city We deal with 18 and over. The city has a youth employment separate department that deals with youth, and we have like something called the BEST, and then there's also the CREST program. So there's like different age ranges that then I just pass on to another department, you know, to deal with that. But yes, and then you know, there's the next city over, like I said, Glendale has their own youth program that I could do referrals for that too. So there is funding and there is money, but the other bad part is like great and it's good and bad. Burbank has no residency restrictions, so it doesn't matter where you come from. Our city's over 100,000 strong, but we're in the heart of LA, so that means everyone comes to see us, right? So even our patrons, like our library cards active wise is like 250,000 people. So it's just like, and I am one person and a coworker that runs the entire workforce center for adults, right? And I'm the heart of Burbank, which is the media capital, basically they're calling itself. So that's the the studios who've done major layoffs, right? So yeah, Joyce, I'm looking at your face. It's just one of those, yeah. It's just one of those things. It's like, yeah, I do the best I can with whoever I can help, right? But I'm thankful for that funding. But yeah, I'm really crossing my fingers because if that funding is cut, one, our partner is going to be really hurting. And most of, like I said, since they only really pay for our salaries, the city has no problems already paying up for it up front. So it's not like I'm going to go anywhere, not like our program is going to go anywhere. It's just the additional services that we can do will disappear, and that will make it really hard for a really bad group right now that's already facing really some major challenges. I saw your note,
That's
Joyce.
all. Um, yeah, that's a lot. Holy. Yeah, I'm with Joyce.
Yeah,
I just like,
no,
what can we do to help?
no, and that's the thing. It's like it's one of those things. It's like, yeah, I would love because I know it's like the opposite, right? Like I know most of the areas that people serve in workforce, it's like there's tons of work, not enough workers. I got the opposite problem. I got too many workers, not enough work, you know, right? And highly skilled because these were all like higher ups in studios or you name it. So yeah, it's constantly off, and I get warn notices all the time. So yeah, it's pretty crazy.
Well,
Sorry to be such a downer, but
no, I was gonna say, I mean, you know, Maine has needs of certain things, but it's very just remember Maine. We have a lot of openings in various industries. The cost of living can be a challenge here sometimes, but yeah, we don't have enough housing and we don't have enough humans. So that's kind of our problem. I have put a link in the chat to a series of sector partnership trainings that our state workforce board is offering. They say it's open to anyone.
nice.
So I'm going to take that very liberally. I attended the first one this morning. It was recorded. It was it? Shoot. Can't remember the presenter's name. Anyways, he's coming in from Colorado. Um, so we'll be seeing him again. And it's just very general, you know, how do you work with disparate agencies when you're all trying to solve the same problem? First of all, being aware that you're solving the same problem. So I'm going to go ahead and extend that because I think there were like 8 of us there this morning. So there's clearly enough bandwidth for more people to join if you ever want to. If they're like, well, why are you here? They're not going to ask where you're from unless you want to offer that up. But anyways. Oh, Dan Griner. There it is. I knew I had it in my notes from Boulder, Colorado. So probably like some others of you, I have to bounce to another meeting at 3 o'clock. Just a quick question before I stop I'm going to stop the recording first. Thank you all. We'll meet next month, same bat time, same bat channel, but I have a question before you all go.